Today, we will be looking at some of my favourite new Skyrim mods that have been made by the community. Just quickly though, I wanted to thank you all for 5,000 subscribers. This is such an incredible milestone, and I couldn't be more grateful for all the support shown to me since I started this channel. So what better way is there to celebrate than with another selection of Skyrim's finest mods? With that being said, let's begin with our first one of the video. Starting off, we have Barria. This adds in an entirely new area for you to explore, complete with a fair amount of content. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe this region comes with any quests, but rather a variety of locations that instead offer the player a lot of combat. If we take a look at the map, you can see that this land is decent in size, although I won't spoil exactly where certain places are. That is for you to discover. I will say though that the environments included all had that classic Skyrim feel to them, where it's easy to get lost and stumble across some sort of structure or a group of enemies. There is a lot of snow and ice as you might expect, although I haven't tested whether or not the mod functions properly with survival mode. Honestly, I kinda just enjoyed getting straight into the action and not having to sit through many lines of dialogue. It was a nice change of pace to just have this whole world to explore without any guidance. As for how you can make your way there, all you need to do is head to the new map marker that appears northeast of Winterhold. Here you'll find a strange portal which will transport you at a moment's notice. I couldn't find any mention of a recommended level, so I'd presume based on how the enemy scaling is set up, you're pretty much good to go whenever you're ready. And the fact that the only changes to Skyrim is the addition of a single asset makes this mod highly compatible with a load of others. This is actually the mod author's first Skyrim mod ever, which is crazy due to its scale. They're asking for any feedback to help improve the mod, and even encourages experienced mod authors to make their own changes, and even adding quests if they want to. Overall, this mod is straight fun. That's all there is to it. There's no complicated mechanics or anything like that, just that magical curiosity of wondering who or what you will come across next. Moving on, we have Arkesia Arts, the Emperor's Son. This mod adds in 2 new destruction spells inspired from Lost Ark, a popular MMO that reached a peak of 1.3 million players on Steam. Now, both of the spells included with this mod are expert level, meaning that whilst they have the potential to deal some serious damage, you also need quite a lot of magicka to cast them in the first place. The first spell is called Emperor's Hand, which triggers this huge AoE that kills just about anyone unfortunate enough to be in its radius. There's this bright flash before an Emperor Tarot card appears with this little animation. This might be off-putting for some, as it doesn't really go too well with the rest of the spells in Skyrim, however it is still a lot of fun to use. I will say this is quite the creative mod, even going as far as to making a custom icon for each one in the menu. The second spell, known as the Emperor's Son, is even more powerful than the last, this time causing a massive explosion that again leaves little to no survivors. It also has the chance to summon a weaker version of Emperor's Hand on any nearby enemies, chaining them together to clear out entire groups of your targets. As for how you can acquire them, all of the spell tomes are available from one of the many magic vendors across Skyrim, which appear based on your character's current level. The mod author recommends using an EMB or community shaders for some increased visuals, actually going on to suggest Nat3, which is what I use in all of my videos. The only real downside with this mod is simply that there aren't more to use. I've noticed that this creator started releasing new mods at an almost weekly basis, and paired with the quality of some of these spells, I think it's safe to say that this mod author has a ton of potential. So if you like what you see here, be sure to check out some of their other work. For the next mod, we have something quite special. True Dragon Aspect is a brand new mod, which actually lets you become a dragon. Once you've learnt the final word of Dragon Aspect, a shout which you unlock during the Dragonborn DLC, you'll also now receive a new power. As soon as you activate it, you'll take on this new form, which is where things get a little complicated. I won't be going over each individual control, as you can simply find all of that information on the mod page. However, I do want to highlight all of the key features that are included. You can do a simple melee attack, or even perform a tail slam at the ground to deal some damage. Shouting is included with the mod, which uses whichever one you currently have equipped, and can be cast both on the ground and in the sky. Which takes me to my next point, flying. This has 2 stages. One is called hover mode, where you move at a slower speed whilst maintaining a greater sense of control. The mod author suggests using this for landings or as a way to make precise attacks against your enemies. The other, known as cruise mode, is exactly what it sounds like. Here you'll move at a much greater pace in the air and slowly glide to the ground as you go. I found this to be considerably harder to control, as it seems like it's best used to travel great distances instead of making smaller movements. Here is where you start to see how Skyrim's mechanics don't exactly agree with what you're doing, resulting in some pretty awkward moments. But you do need to remember that this mod has only just released, meaning that there's still a lot of time to smooth everything out. Once you're finished, all you need to do is use the revert form power, and you should turn back into your more naked self. I know there are other mods out there like Play as a Dragon SE, however one feature that makes this mod stand out from the rest is the ability to customize what your dragon looks like. There's a selection of different colors to choose from, even including the option to look like Alduin, Paarthurnax, and a few others. The only other things you should know is that there's a fair amount of requirements which are needed before everything works properly, so do keep that in mind. And finally, the creator has linked a bunch of mods that go great with this one, such as different shout overhauls, and surprisingly open cities, so you could theoretically fly around inside one of Skyrim's major settlements. So whilst this mod isn't perfect by any means, I'd say it's got a lot of promise, and is one I still recommend trying for yourselves. Next up, we have a mod called Ancient Imperial Armors SE. As you can probably guess, this adds in 2 new armor sets, which come with this incredible looking design. But that's not all that's included, as the mod also comes with its own sword and shield to complete the set, but we'll get to that in a second. What's actually interesting is how you go about acquiring the gear in the first place. You see, every armor piece has actually been scattered through various forts across Skyrim, with each location having the chance to contain one of these items. I noticed that this mechanic was receiving quite a lot of negative feedback, as some players weren't too open about the idea of going on this long journey just to find everything you need. There is a complete list of all the possible areas that they can spawn on the mod page, so if you're someone who would rather know where to look from the start, then that is the place to be. Now, once you've finally gotten your hands on all of the armor pieces, you can actually turn them into heavy armor at any blacksmith, where they'll also take on a slightly different appearance. This doesn't cost you any extra materials at all, and can also be switched back and forth as many times as you'd like. The mod on its own is currently missing some features that help take a simple armor mod to the next level. These include support for HDT SMP, SPID, and compatibility for other body types. However, a number of other mod authors have already been hard at work to fix these issues, so pretty much any existing problem can be solved by downloading an extra file or two. Going back to the sword and shield, we can see that it takes on a similar style as the armor and complements it perfectly. In terms of the stats, all of the gear sits in a comfortable position where it's not too overpowered, but certainly isn't weak either, so I'd say it's definitely worth the struggle. For those that don't know, this mod author has made countless other armors and weapons for years now that all withstand the same level of quality, so whilst this specific set may not be for you, I can almost guarantee you'll find something you like on their profile. For our final mod, we have Piglet, the Courageous Companion. This adds in a brand new follower to the cozy town of Riverwood. The mod lists itself as being custom voiced, and whilst this is technically true, they don't say a whole lot apart from Oink. It's pretty standard as far as followers go, coming with the usual features of being your own portable storage, and they can even help fend off enemies alongside you. The mod also lets you equip your new friend with a backpack, but do keep in mind that this will require you to own the creation Pets of Skyrim. This does come with the Anniversary Edition, so hopefully this shouldn't affect too many of you. But if you're running one of the older versions, you can still give the mod a try, except you won't be able to customize them with their very own backpack. Luckily they have been listed as essential, meaning that it's impossible for them to die in-game. As I mentioned earlier, they can be found in Riverwood, more specifically behind the Riverwood Trader and in the garden of Gerda's house. This is also where they'll return to you if you ever decide to part ways. So if you're looking for a fun new companion to traverse Skyrim with, then this is the mod for you. And there you have it, 5 amazing new mods that I cannot recommend enough. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.